A Waitangi Tribunal inquiry this month was showing confidential policy briefings from officials to ministers, briefings the tribunal has since made public. David Seymour, who's in charge of the work, says it should be up to the government to decide when that happens.
I just think it's more respectful to the people in a democracy that the government they elected is actually able to get on with the job instead of someone unelected sticking.
I do like how he's trying to pull the respectful card, Chewy. Like how he's being, you should be respectful to us as we're being the most disrespectful we possibly can be to you by doing this kind of horse shit.
Their oar in.
The policy is still being developed, but the briefings were based on principles proposed by ACT. Importantly, the principles mention the rights of all New Zealanders, not just Māori.
What sort of successful society do you have when one group have political rights that the rest don't have?
Like people over 18 voting? Just saying, it's like there's one group, Chewy, over 18s that have a political right that a whole bunch of others don't. Just spitballing, just throwing some ideas out there.
That's not equality, and that's not democracy.
That interpretation raised eyebrows. In a December briefing to Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith, officials said ACT's principles differ significantly from current understandings within the Crown, Courts and Waitangi Tribunal.
Yeah, but who are they?
Relating to Article 2 appears to be a novel interpretation with no support of it in any legislation or expert opinion.
Now, just remember, that was National. That was National saying that to their coalition partner.
I would go a step further than that and say some of these are closer to a fabrication.
There are people who have different views, but I think that's healthy. My view is that the treaty gives the same rights to all New Zealanders.
Seymour wants the policy to spark a national conversation about the treaty, but the briefing said it's unlikely to facilitate the type of national conversation that will help address uncertainty and apprehensions. And there was a substantial risk it could generate further division, which poses a threat to social cohesion and trust in institutions.
So it's not the idea of a conversation itself that is a worry, it's the fact that the particular conversation being proposed just is detached from realities.
When you politely and respectfully debate our future, that actually leads to greater understanding.
The document shows Seymour later told officials that ACT's principles were just a starting point, but he won't give away their current
That's
shape.
Pretty terrifying.
Despite the Waitangi Tribunal effectively leaking this, I do still have to be respectful of my cabinet colleagues.
Not wanting to give away too much, even if others have.
So there you go. There's the story. There's the introduction for us, Moana, to talking about. I find that quite terrifying that ACT says this is just the beginning, but they won't say what's coming next. Now, you're deep in this, right? You've got the document. You're hearing the submissions. Tell us what we need to know.
Love to. Well, first of all, just in relation to the Waitangi Tribunal's process, and I just want to point out that I'm not currently a practicing lawyer, haven't appeared in front of the tribunal for 3.5 at least years. But in a former life, I spent 19 years regularly appearing in front of the tribunal. And it is their standard process to put documents onto their website. So it's a public forum. It's available to anybody to get the link to view it remotely if you want to. You can't be physically at the hearing, but you want to appear in front of the tribunal, either, like we are now, or and every single document that gets filed, unless there has been a direction that it will be maintained under confidentiality, gets put onto the website, onto the record of inquiry, and then onto the website, and anyone from the public can access it. Fundamentally, what it is that the cabinet paper refers to advice to cabinet, basically, just highlighting what to expect in relation to the Treaty Principles Bill. It points out that it's likely to be controversial. It points out that the bill will define the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi in statute, and that the policy intention is to create some certainty about what the principles are and how they are applied in New Zealand law. And it goes on to say that the bill will basically set out a finite number of principles, or it sets out three principles, which will basically replace the principles which have been articulated by the courts and the Waitangi Tribunal and the government over the years. So interesting advice given, not just in this particular document. The fact of its confidentiality is kind of a side issue. The main point is that every single advisor on this bill has pointed out how contentious this is, how it doesn't actually align with anything remotely representing an interpretation of the treaty, and that it's just kind of it doesn't go as far as saying it's bizarre, but certainly many other witnesses have, been scratching their head around how you even arrive at the position that ACT arrives in terms of its interpretation of what the principles should be.